So now in this lesson, we're going to actually get into the cold calling script. And the first part we are going to cover is how you can actually get past the gatekeepers during your cold calls. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. All right, so diving right into the cold calling script, essentially. So this is going to be a script that you guys can go ahead and download, and you can actually edit it directly, so you can, actually sell your specific product and services. But I went ahead and just put in the general script that you can use as a rule of thumb, and then from there you can edit it based on what works directly in your industry. So let's go ahead and get into how you can get past the gatekeepers, right? So the first track we're going to talk about is getting past gatekeepers, and then we're going to talk about the easy gatekeepers, right? These are the people that are going to connect you to the right person, no problem, right? They're not going to give you any objections. They're not going to say, why are you calling? They're just going to connect you to the right person, and this is how you do it. So there's going to be two different talk tracks, right? Let's go with the first one. So the strategy is you basically just want to tell them exactly who you want to connect to directly and confidently, all right? Just say it. You don't have to explain too much why. You don't have to, say too much. You just say, hey, connect me to the right person. And I'll show you what I mean. And it's very important that your tonality is on point, meaning that you sound confident in what you're saying. You sound like, it's almost as if you have a scheduled meeting with the person. That's how confident you sound. And when you kind of show that confidence through your tonality, well, people are more likely to connect you without even asking any questions. So let's go ahead and try this, right? So ring, ring, phone rings, reception picks up, reception says, hey, it's Sarah, how can I help you? And you will say, hey, Sarah, can you connect me to John Smith? And reception says, okay, sure. And they will literally just transfer you to the prospect right there, right? I've done this so many times. And you'd be surprised that a lot of times people will just connect you directly to the person, whether it's a CEO, VP of whatever, or director of whatever. They will connect you if you kind of just say it confidently, and they'll do it, right? Now, so this is the easy gatekeeper, okay? It doesn't always happen all the time, but it does happen more often than not. And so now we're gonna go into gatekeepers, but we're gonna add a bonus here where you're gonna ask for the person's phone number, because sometimes you wanna collect information on the first cold call campaign, right? So if you always have to go through the gatekeeper every single time you wanna talk to a person, eventually it gets annoying, right? Eventually after the 20th call, it gets annoying, right? So that's why you want to ask for the decision maker's phone number from the reception if you can't find it online or through any type of database that you're paying for. Then you get their phone number, you just add it to your CRM, right? So here's how it's gonna go. Ring, ring, reception says, hey, it's Sarah, how can I help you? And you'll say, hey, Sarah, can you connect me to John Smith? Reception says, okay, sure, one moment. And before they connect you, what you're gonna say is, great, thanks. And just in case I get disconnected, can you go ahead and tell me John Smith's direct line? And reception will say, sure, it's, and then phone number. One moment, I'm gonna connect you now. And then they're gonna transfer you to that person's line. So in here, it's pretty much exactly the same as the first talk track. The only difference is that right after you ask to be connected, reception is gonna be like, okay, one moment. And you basically just say, hey, thanks. And just in case I get disconnected, can you go ahead and tell me John Smith's direct line? So in this way, you're not saying like, oh, just give me his phone number, I'll call him directly, right? You're not being rude. You're not being too abrasive. You're just saying like, hey, I might get disconnected, because you know how things work. Like that happens over the phone, right? So that's basically like a nice excuse. And from there, you just say, can you just go ahead and tell me his direct line just in case I get disconnected? Reception will say, yeah, that makes sense. So you don't have to keep calling me. And they will literally just give you the line, the direct phone number, you write it down. So the next time, let's say John, the prospect, right? Let's say John doesn't pick up the phone, which is natural. Then next time you want to call him, maybe tomorrow, well, you don't have to go through reception. You don't have to be annoying. You could just directly call John because you have his direct phone number. So pretty much any key decision makers that you want to break into, especially if you are, there are specific accounts you want to get into, and it's your job to really focus on just a few accounts versus selling to everyone. You want to get everybody's phone number so you can call them directly, and it takes time. Obviously, it's a lot of manual work, but that's how the game is played, especially if you're doing like enterprise sales. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the next step, which is getting past difficult gatekeepers, right? So in the first two examples, these were easy gatekeepers where they just direct you directly and they give you the person's phone number directly. But that doesn't always happen. And sometimes you're going to have someone that will ask a lot of questions. And so let's go ahead and show you how you are going to handle this. So the strategy here is you basically just tell them exactly who you want to connect to confidently. And then the only difference is that once they give you an objection, you are going to handle the objection and then ask for, basically have another call to action, just asking them to connect. So let me go ahead and do this once first, and then we'll analyze why it works. So ring, ring, ring. Reception says, hey, it's Sarah. How can I help you? Hey, Sarah, can you connect me to John Smith? Reception says, okay, well, what is this regarding? And then you'll respond, right? This is the first objection. You'll say, I'm part of the human capital management team at Oracle, and I basically help companies, and then whatever value you bring, right? Whether you save them costs, help them make more money, whatever it is. And I wanted to talk to John to see if it makes sense to work together. So if you can go ahead and connect me to John, that would be great. Thanks. Then reception, see at this point, right? As you can see, I'm asking, this is a call to action. So if you can connect me to John, great, thanks. I'm just basically giving my objection handling, basically telling them why I'm calling and just say, hey, just connect me. Sometimes they will just connect you right after this, but if they don't, here's what you do. Your reception says, does John have a meeting with you? And you say, John doesn't have a scheduled meeting with me yet, which is why I want to give him a call to see if it makes sense for us to work together. So if you can go ahead and connect me to John, that would be great. And then reception might say, okay, sure, one moment. Okay, so let's analyze this. Over here, basically, you do not want to have a long conversation with reception, right? You just want to think of it like this. It's their job to connect people together, right? And it's also their job to filter out people that might be a waste of time. So you want to prove that you're not a waste of time, and you want to prove that whatever you bring to the table, it's of value. And you just want the reception to think as little as possible. You don't want them to be like, oh, if I connect this person, is it going to waste this person's time and this and that? You just basically say, hey, look, I'm part of the human capital management team, blah, blah, blah. Here's a value that I bring. And can you go ahead and just connect me, right? And basically, you always want to keep asking this, like, can you go ahead and connect me? Can you go ahead and connect me? Because it creates a little bit of leverage, creates a little bit of pressure for the person to just be like, all right, fine, I'll just go ahead and connect you. And because if you don't add this line, they're going to ask you more questions and more questions and more questions. And eventually they're going to be like, okay, well, it's not a good fit for you to talk to this person. But if you kind of just say, hey, this is why I'm calling, can you connect me? Then they're much more likely to connect you. And if they give you another common objection, which is, do they have a meeting with you? And just be honest, don't lie to the person. Just say, no, they don't have a meeting with me, which is why I want to give him a call to see if it makes sense to work together, right? So that's a nice way to handle objections because you're honest and you're basically just turning a negative into a positive and then asking again at the call to action. So if you can connect me to John, whatever it is, that'd be great. And then the person will connect you. Sometimes, if they are really hard, maybe they won't connect you. And that's totally okay. Then you're going to have to find another way to get to the person, right? If you can't get through this reception. But essentially, this is how you want to do it. You just want to give them a reason. You want a one-sentence high-level overview of what you do. You don't have to explain everything because they're not going to understand. So this is what I do. This is my value. And can you connect me? And then basically, whatever objection they give you, you're going to say some kind of objection handling skill, or you're going to do some kind of objection handling. And then you can say at the end, so if you can go ahead and connect me to John, that would be great. And then they are going to connect you and transfer you to the line. Okay, so we're going to use part of the waterfall strategy in the next part of getting past gatekeepers, right? So let's say you were able to call the CEO, you left him a voicemail, but he never picked up the phone. This is how you would leverage that phone call to get past a gatekeeper to get to, let's say, the VP of marketing or the director of marketing or whatever it is, right? So strategy is first call the CEO, you work your way down the hierarchy, which is the waterfall strategy. Leverage the fact that you called the CEO and use this after you left the voicemail with the CEO or other high-level decision makers. So let's say you call the CEO again, and then you want to talk to the VP of marketing, right? So let's start this. So you go ring, ring. The reception says, hey, it's Sarah. How can I help you? Hey, Sarah, can you connect me to Sally Johnson? And they'll say, well, what is this call regarding? And this is where you're going to implement the waterfall strategy, right? So here's how you will respond using the waterfall technique. My name is Patrick Dang, and I'm part of the human capital management team at Oracle. And I was actually just on John's line, and I figured Sally Johnson might be the right person to talk to about marketing or whatever it is. So if you could connect me to Sally, that'd be great. And reception will say, sure, one moment. So what am I doing here? Well, essentially, I'm saying that I am calling, well, basically I say my name and I'm from Oracle, blah, blah, blah. And I was just talking on John's line, right? So basically you can use variations. You can say like, I was just on John's line, I just called John's office, whatever variation you want to use. But you're not saying you had a conversation with the CEO. You're only saying that you said something on their line or their office, which means you left a voicemail. You don't want to directly say you left a voicemail. You just want to say, hey, I was just on this person's line and I figured that this other person might be the best person to talk to about marketing, right? So this creates a lot of leverage against the gatekeeper because they're wondering, oh, you just talked to the CEO and now you think that the VP of marketing is the right person to talk to. So in their head, they're probably thinking, oh, so maybe the CEO recommended you to talk to the VP of marketing, right? They don't really know what the truth is, but they can assume. But the reality is you just left the voicemail at the CEO's office and then you leveraged the fact and created leverage to get the person to connect you to the next person, right? And then from there, because that leverage is created from you leaving a voicemail and not really sharing whether you actually talked to the CEO or if you just left them a voicemail, they're just naturally going to think that you know what you're doing and now you want to talk to the next person and they're going to connect you to that next person, usually without too much resistance. And then if they do give you resistance, you just have to use the strategies that I gave you when you're talking to a difficult decision maker. And then the last script, and that's pretty much 3 different techniques you can use to get past gatekeepers. So with that said, that's all there's going to be for this lesson, and I will see you in the next.